Okay, so let's go ahead and start programming. So I can translate directly from my piece of paper here to my code. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to specify the size of my drawing window, which is going to be 500 by 500. Then I'm going to create this ellipse for the head. So it's going to be start at 250, 250. That's going to be the center point. It's going to be 60 by 60 for its height and its width. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to specify the coordinates for this triangle here for the dress. Okay, so I'm going to have triangle with 250, 280, 190, 380, 310, and 380. Okay, I could continue typing all of these things in, but the first thing that I'm going to do, or before I actually finish typing everything in, is I'm going to try this. So I like to teach a method by which you add a couple of lines of code to your program and then you test it. So you add a couple of lines and test. Why do that? Seems like a waste of time. I could go type all of this in and fix the problems later. It's much easier to fix your program as you go. So if you add a few lines, you try it out, you fix those problems, and you add a few more lines, try it out, fix those problems, you'll find that it's much easier to debug your programs in this way. So I'm going to try running this and see what I have. Well, that looks actually pretty good so far. It looks like my stick figure. Now I may have moved it up a little bit higher, but since I've figured everything out now, based on the fact that the head is in the middle of the drawing window, I'm going to leave it this way. 220, 380, 220, 430, 280, okay. So I'll test that out and see if the girl's legs look like they're supposed to look. That looks pretty good. Okay, and then I'll add the feet. So I have an ellipse. Whoops, 2, 15, 430, 10, 10. An ellipse at 285, 430, and 10, and 10. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. Okay, one thing to think about this program. If I were to give you this program and said, here I've written a Python program in processing, take it and run it. If I gave you this, would you have any idea what this picture looks like? Well, you're probably saying, yes, I do, because I've just watched this video and I know what I'm supposed to be drawing, but in reality, if I gave you this, you would have absolutely no idea what I was trying to draw. A really important part of programming is commenting your code. Putting comments in that tell the reader of the code exactly what your code is doing. So I'm going to put a few comments in here. A comment starts with a hash sign like this, and then I can write whatever I want in here. The way this is interpreted by the Python interpreter, which is the program that is running our code, is whenever it sees a hash sign like this, it knows that this is for people. It isn't code. So these are just for user or for people to be able to understand your code. Another important reason that we write comments, well, there's lots of important reasons why we write comments, but if you come back to a program, it also helps you, even though you're the author of the program. Sometimes you forget what it is that you were trying to do in a particular place, and it's much easier to read the code if you have comments in here rather than trying to read all of the code segments. So I'm going to put a comment there. I'm also going to put a little bit of white space in here. So I'm going to say, okay, here's where I draw the head. Here's where I draw the dress. Here's where I draw the legs. And I'll move this down. I'm going to group those legs into one section. And here's where I draw the feet. Okay, so now if I look at this code, I can see that, okay, I'm doing a head, I'm doing a dress, I'm doing some legs, and I'm doing the feet. If I had put a comment up at the very top, so I'm going to use a different kind of commenting style now. This is called a multi-line comment. I'm going to put 3 quotes. I can put 3 single quotes or I can put 3 double quotes. Actually, it doesn't matter which. This program draws a stick figure girl. Okay, so I put what the program does. This isn't a very complex program, so it's a very simple comment, but if you had something that was more complex, you'd explain what your program does here, put in who the author was, and put in a date. So now when I start reading my program, I see that, oh, this program draws a stick figure girl. When I scroll down in my program, I see that this part of the program draws the person's head, this part draws its dress, and this part draws its legs, and the next part draws its feet. So our comments, along with some white space, makes our program much more readable and understandable. So there we have our first sketch. Okay, the takeaways from this video. First, make a plan on paper. Okay, don't make the mistake of having something in your head and pulling up the processing window and starting to write Python code. No matter what you're doing, whether it's a sketch or writing any other kind of code, a plan on paper is crucial. Code incrementally. What does that mean? It means add a few lines, test those lines, fix those lines, and retest, and then add some more lines. Don't try to write a program with all of the code in it and then try to fix it in the end. You're going to find that by coding incrementally, you're going to save yourself a lot of time. Lastly, comment your code to make it readable. So if you just write code, you're not going to be able to understand your program when you come back to it. It also helps your thinking process, your planning process. If you're actually commenting your code, you need to understand what you've written. If you don't understand the code that you're writing, then you can't possibly make a program that works.